Am I the a-hole for telling my dad and his stepson to buzz off? Me, 35 male, and my wife, Nat, 32 female, have recently had a child. When I was young, my parents divorced. Then when I was around 13, my dad remarried to his current wife, Lizzie, who had a son, Maddie, who was about 3 at the time. Me and my mom have a really good relationship, but I probably won't bring her up much because this is mostly about my dad's family. I was living with my mom for the majority of the time before I got my own place, but I stayed at my dad's enough to have my own room. My dad started to ignore me for his new family pretty much immediately, including sometimes not making me dinner when I was staying at his place. Maddie can't do anything wrong in my dad's eyes. For example, when I introduced Nat to my dad's family when we were still dating about 5 years ago, Maddie's first move was to tell her that he was available when she eventually got bored of me. I was pissed at him, but didn't start a fight because I just wasn't in the mood. Nat just laughed it off and said she was into older guys. Left straight after. Another example, I didn't get my driver's license until I was 27 or 28 for personal reasons that I won't list here. Anyway, I needed someone to mind my car for a few days because I was doing something with friends for a few days. Mom wasn't available, so I asked my dad. He came back a few days later and my car wasn't there. I asked why, and my dad said Maddie crashed it, so they were paying someone to fix it. I freaked out, and my dad told me that this was a good thing for Maddie because this would make him a better driver when he got his license. When I didn't immediately agree with him, I was told to get the hell out. Anyway, me and Nat have a son now, and a few days ago my dad called me a bastard because I didn't ask Maddie to be my son's godfather. Neither of them was invited to my wedding or my son's christening, and I told him he wasn't even invited to my wedding. So why was this what he was pissed about? He said he didn't care that he wasn't invited, but that Maddie was never anything but nice to me, and I should apologize. Then he said Maddie was with him, so I told him to put it on speaker, and I told them both to buzz off. Then I hung up. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. He crashed your car? Like he drove your car without asking? And crashed it? And no one apologized? Or thought that was the incorrect thing to do? And made a pass at Opie's girlfriend in front of Opie. He said Maddie was with him. I told him to put it on speaker. I told them both to buzz off. Then I hung up. Like a boss. Not the a-hole. Maddie couldn't even take care of your car when he borrowed it. Why the hell would you want him to take care of your kid? Exactly. I honestly don't know why my dad thinks so highly of him. Not the a-hole. Maddie was never anything but nice to me. When? How delusional can someone be? I'm sure more has happened since they weren't invited to the wedding or the christening. Him calling over this just shows how blind he is to his and Maddie's behavior, and this impact on others. Don't let them ever make you believe that you were wrong here. Just enjoy your life, your family. I'd go no contact with him, honestly. He's done worse stuff as well. I posted about it here before. I didn't even mention half of what he's done, but it was taken down because of the stuff I said he did. I thought so. You don't uninvite close relatives from a wedding unless stuff happened. Have you thought about going no contact with them? Nobody needs such negativity in their life, though I do understand these things can be very tricky. Me and Nat are talking about it. Next story. Am I the a-hole for making my stepson choose between therapy or living with his dad after what is done? My stepson Aaron, 17, has always been a jokester. First, his jokes were funny, but he then started using others' identities to start drama in family and friends. For example, he once texted his cousin's phone with a flirty text, and his cousin's girlfriend saw it and it got messy. He texted his uncle pretending to be his son's friend and lied about his son being in an accident. It was awful. I tried doing something about it, but everyone would say he's adapting, that it's normal teenager behavior, and he'll grow out of it. He even blamed his dad, saying he is a jokester himself, so it's a trait in his DNA. I tried to get an explanation out of him, and he'd say stuff like, dude, like, it's kind of fun, which made no sense. My final straw was days ago when I was at work, and I received a text via my pregnant wife's phone, telling me her water broke, and told me to meet her at XXX hospital. I drove her 1.5 hours and called her family, and we went there. We were shocked to know my wife never came to the hospital. I called her phone, then went home. When I got there, I found out my wife was actually napping like she does usually, and Aaron coming downstairs laughing at my face and my in-laws' faces. I yelled at him when he said he got me fooled by taking my wife's phone and texting me about her going into labor. He asked, "Oh my freaking god, did you literally drive to the freaking hospital?" My wife said nothing, but I decided I had it. I told him I was sick of his games, and he has two options: therapy to fix his issues or no longer live in my house. He complained about it being his dad's idea, but it was obvious blame shifting. He went upstairs calling me names. My wife tried to calm me down, but my blood pressure, I have chronic disease, was up and I was shaking. My in-law said I was too harsh and went too far with my ultimatum. I declined to back down because I think I won't be able to take it more. I apparently made them more upset than what Aaron did, and said I have to forgive him and drop it, but I couldn't. Thing is, Aaron is 100% against therapy and has a pretty bad idea of it. He associates it to his parents divorcing and is making it his hill to die on, and says no one will force him to get therapy since he thinks it's a waste of time trying to change his personality. About his bi dad, I've discussed this behavior with him and his response was that I was being bossy and controlling. His opinion about therapy was that I'm attempting to brainwash/change Aaron's personality and control what he says and how he behaves to get him on my side, especially since Aaron doesn't see me as a father figure to him. Of course, none of his claims are true. He even told me to my face that Aaron can do whatever he wants whenever he pleases, and it's none of my concern. But I was trying to keep communication open. Otherwise, I'd be accused of enforcing my own thoughts/decisions without Aaron's dad's input. Not day home. Your stepson is 17, not 7, and if he doesn't know the difference between right and wrong at this age, you are well within your rights to not want to associate with him. Honestly, given the lack of parenting from his mother, I would question my decision to have children with a woman who will not help her discipline her son. Too late now though, she's already pregnant. Did I question Opie's judgment in ever having children with someone who managed to raise this child? Opie not day home. This soon-to-be adult will get himself arrested for the stupid crap he's pulling. Your ultimatum is sound and fair. Edited Wed. His behavior might be stemming from jealousy of the baby. Given how immature he is, this is very likely. Not day home. It seems though, what if God is an in-law problem? Aaron is never going to change when all the adults around him justify his behavior. This one should have been the last straw for everyone, and yet they acted like it was just a funny joke. You appended your entire day, drove 1.5 hours one way, missed work, and instead of an apology, you were laughed at and berated. Yet here you are, being told you're wrong for not immediately bowing to his joke. Stay steadfast in your decision here, and if you're ostracized, maybe it's time to take a break and co-parent your new child away from this environment. Maybe in-laws and mom will realize it's a problem when he starts making newborn pranks on parents who haven't slept for 2 months. Not today, home. Your stepson is a sociopath. Those aren't jokes. They're mean-spirited. 17 is beyond old enough to know what he's doing. Plus, if you do have a chronic BP disorder, those awful pranks could kill you at this rate. I do have problems with BP and I take medications for years. It's chronic, and everyone knows about it, including my in-laws. But according to them, Aaron's laughs and giggles are worth causing an accident of some sort. Now for the next story. Update. Am I the a-hole for kicking my son out after I cut down my trees? Original story. Hi, I'm the father of an 18 male who started choosing friends over his future when he was a sophomore. It took him nearly going to jail during senior year for him to snap out of it. He went from being a straight A student to barely passing. He only started preparing for his SAT a week beforehand, which is evident in the score he got. He applied to some colleges, none of which were his dream ones, and managed to get into a few. He ended up coming to us and choosing one of the worst colleges on his list, and saying his friends were going there. That set me off because he should not make decisions based on his friends. My wife and I told him that if he took a year off and continued to get his life back together, regardless of his new SAT score at the end of the year, we would pay for his college. But we wouldn't pay for him to hang out with his friends. He wasn't happy about taking a year off, even though we convinced him that a year is nothing in the grand scheme of things, but he didn't mention it for a while. My wife and I went on a 2-week long trip, and while we were away, nearly 10 trees in our backyard were cut down. There were some sort of sandalwood trees planted only God knows how long ago. We had left our daughter behind with our son, but they stayed a few nights with their uncle, so we instantly thought some random person cut them down to sell them. Our daughter secretly said she has an idea of what happened, but didn't elaborate. Quick security check shows our son hired a company to, badly and hastily, cut the trees and cut them into logs and planks with my equipment, then sold it to strangers. We ended up arguing, and him saying he needs money for college. I kicked him out, and he went to stay with another family member. And now my wife is upset and says I'm awful. I appreciate my son trying, but this was not the right way. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole. Exactly what did he think was going to happen? You wouldn't notice the missing trees? Or that you wouldn't care that he hurt your property for a few bucks? They weren't his trees to sell, and he didn't even ask. There does need to be consequences for that. Also, depending on where you are, sandalwood trees are the property of the government, in India at least, and cannot be cut without permission or sold on the open market. OP's son clearly lacks the ability to think things through or make good choices. Not the a-hole because your son is old enough to know there are consequences to his actions. However, you describe this as a somewhat recent change in behavior, going from straight A's to barely passing and making poor decisions. Did something happen? I would suggest therapy for your son and trying to get to the bottom of why he's throwing his life away. You're right that he can still get his life back on track, but remember you can lead a horse to water. You can't make it drink. Thanks for your input here. I'd ask my son repeatedly if there's a reason for his change in behavior at the beginning of his senior year, and it was always the same answer. I'm just older now. My daughters also told me that nothing happened, other than his friends going south and him following. After his run-in with the law, I had asked him if he wanted to do some counseling with our pastor. We weren't religious, but my son likes the guy, and he said he wasn't interested. Dealing with the police would be the only traumatic thing I am aware of. It was a bit more than just underage drinking. My reaction to it probably didn't help either. And now for the update. It's been a while since the last post, and a lot of things have happened. Thanks a lot for everyone's input. It really helped give insight on my son and I's behavior, and helped when making decisions moving onward. An important thing to start off with is, we got mature oaks planted. There were 6 of them put in, and they look amazing already. They cost a fortune, a crazy fortune. The money my son got from the sandalwood covered around half the price, and I coughed up the remaining. Despite paying for them, they belong to the conservation committee who are, understandably, upset about previous trees being cut down. The oaks can't be cut down, and they will be coming annually to check on how the trees are doing. Now onto my son. In my previous post, I mentioned that his punishment for cutting down trees purely for money was to use said money for the new trees, and formally apologize to conservation committee as well as donate his time to them for a year. The money has been spent, and he apologized. The apology was quite embarrassing. The conservation committee aren't a joke. They treated him harshly, haha. For the past 2 weeks he has been working alongside them. Planting trees/bushes, landscaping the park, artificial habitats, and more. Surprisingly, the committee started liking my son and offered him an official job starting September, which he is taking. After realizing the reason for my son's misbehavior was mental issues, his punishment for disrespecting my property was changed to agreeing to everything I do regarding him getting help. After seeing a therapist, I was told my son has been silently suffering with a form of trauma for around 8 years. I only found out after family counseling that the cause of his trauma was from seeing my ex-wife cheating on me, and then being manipulated by her for years after. Needless to say, my ex does not live with me anymore. I feel so stupid for not seeing it earlier. I don't even care about the cheating, but how did I not realize my ex babying my son was just a front? Anyway, my son is doing slightly better and has picked up swimming again. He's agreed to a gap year and will be retaking his SAT. He also dropped his friends and took a substance test that showed nothing weird. It's too early to be happy, but I am. Everyone has been more open since my ex left. My son has made it his goal to get into his dream college for architecture, while my daughter wants to go to a music festival. I don't think there's anything left to add. For people wondering, my son made nearly $35,000 from the wood. Thanks again, and I hope you have a nice day. Last story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not wanting my 23 female, dad 49 male to bring his mistress to my future life events? My father 49 male and I 23 female don't have the best relationship, but it has gotten notably worse since he and my mother 49 female got divorced in September last year. My mom and I are extremely close and live 45 minutes from each other. My dad lives in a different state than us. My mom only moved to my state after the divorce because she couldn't continue to afford to live in the state she was in, though she loved it there. The divorce uprooted her life literally. Context is important, so let me give you the basics. My mother and father were high school sweethearts and were about to hit their 28th anniversary last year. My father, however, had a problem with staying faithful to my mom. He was a military man, and my dad always had multiple relationships outside of the marriage. This has resulted in my mom contracting multiple STDs over the years. My mom kept catching him, but my dad would gaslight her into thinking she was not good enough, and that was why he would step out of the marriage. Fast forward to last year. My mom caught my dad with an escort. I decided to pack her bags and take some space from him, and went to stay at a friend's house. On my mom's birthday, he asked her for a divorce. He pushed getting it finalized as quickly as possible, and it was finalized within 59 days. A week after the divorce was finalized, my dad moved Alice into their house. He admitted to my mom that he and Alice had gotten together before he brought up divorce and had been a thing for a time. Alice is between the ages of 30 and 39, but we are not sure what her age actually is because my dad keeps changing it when asked. I've never spoken to her or met her. My dad asked me my opinion on marrying Alice, and I told him that was his choice, but that I thought it was too fast. My dad did not know I knew about him cheating. I figured out on my own, and it was later confirmed. My mom has not moved on and is still struggling with the trauma of the divorce. Tonight, I told my dad that I did not want Alice at my graduation in May or wedding in September because my mom would be there. I told him it was less than a year since the divorce and that I knew how, more specifically when, his relationship with Alice actually started. And if he did not want to attend due to my decision, that was his choice, but I made up my mind. My dad told me it's not fair I'm excluding people that are part of his life, and that it was not my choice, and that he was trying to be open and honest with his intentions. Am I the a-hole for not wanting Alice present at these events? Edited to add, I'm an only child. My dad has a vasectomy when I was 5, and Alice had no children that I know of. Not the a-hole at all. I hope you stick to your guns in regards to keeping the mistress from major life events, but expect fallout from the decision as your dad seems used to getting his way. Congrats on the upcoming graduation and wedding though. Thank you. I'm graduating from law school in May, so at least that's the plan. Absolutely not the a-hole. If it hasn't happened yet, please help your mom to find a therapist so she can heal, get on with her life. I did. Her therapist has been away for a month, so I'm pushing her to switch to a more consistent one. I hope your poor mother received all the alimony she could, and I hope she heals from this. I'm sure it'll be easier with her caring daughter near her. She refused to take the alimony. I couldn't believe it. But she still has property rights in the house, so it's okay.
Update. I, 27 male, am suing my brother, 42 male, and my girlfriend, 23, wants me to disown my parents too. Is she right? Original post. I previously deleted the original post just to be safe. But here's a summary. After I got a degree in computer science, my brother and his 2 partners recruited me to work a summer for them. They wanted me to set up their infrastructure for their new company in finance and investments. One summer turned into 2 years of free work as a secretary, receptionist, systems tech, personal assistant, accountant, research analyst. They paid me about 4 or 5 times, totaling around $7,000 to $8,000 in 2 years. When I left to start grad school, they were mad that I wouldn't stay. When I finished grad school and put them on my resume, they lied to prospective employers about me. They denied I worked for them and said I was trying to use my brother's name to get ahead. They also accused me of visiting their office and sexually harassing female employees they never even had. I called them to ask them about it, and they, including my brother, just laughed about the whole thing and said I was getting what I deserved. Kind of like, it's what you get when you mess with us. My counselor and some other people from school, including my headhunter, helped me get a job. But I had to sue my brother and his partners for slander and other things. My brother called me to laugh about the lawsuit when they got served, but now they're scared and my brother has my dad pressuring me to drop the lawsuit and just sit down with them both to work something out. My dad called this just a little big brother bullying little brother nonsense and demanded I drop the lawsuit. He and my mom uninvited me to Thanksgiving at their house, but my mom pretty much tried to stay out of it. I could tell this was hard for her. Now for the update. There's very little to update legally in terms of the lawsuit, but I had a laptop that contained lists of clients that my brother and his partners stole from their respective employers before they left to start the company. I didn't want to turn those files over to my attorney because things are bad enough for them already. My girlfriend had a different opinion. She wants me to just absolutely let them have it and crush them. I called my attorney and told him I had the files and dropped them off at his firm on the 9th. On the 10th, I got a call from his firm saying that my attorney needed to see me that very day. I went in, and he said that the files would be turned over to the U.S. Attorney's Office, so it's out of our hands now. But he really wanted to talk to me about my parents. He spoke to my dad and basically said that my dad is a world-class prick. He's going to subpoena both my parents to testify at a deposition and probably at trial if we make it that far. He wanted me to prepare myself for what they might say about me. He made it clear there is no turning back now. I didn't pay anything for my attorney to take the case, so his firm is very financially invested in this now. Basically, they're calling the shots. I think my attorney thinks I'm weak or that I'll want to back off or take it easy on them. He actually told me that he knows my family would weaken me. I think he underestimates me. Anyway, he told me to just brace myself for the heat my dad will bring on me. I told him I had 2 older sisters on my side, and my mother was pretty neutral. He assured me that my mother is absolutely not neutral, so he just told me to prepare for anything. So I got phone calls from my 2 sisters, who both live about 300 miles away. They were disgusted with my dad and my brother's behavior and had told me they were 100% behind me. Now they told me that my girlfriend and I are uninvited to go see them and their children this Christmas. They told me they loved me, but that I needed to back off of this lawsuit. This was a little bit of a shock. It didn't crush me, but it wasn't easy to hear. They won't be contacting me anymore and want me not to contact them, and they said they have their reasons. They both cried when they called, but I stayed calm. They also emailed my girlfriend to let her know about being uninvited to their homes for Christmas. My girlfriend blasted them both with a very scathing response that I wish she hadn't sent, but it's her decision how she responds to them. My dad is getting a little out of control. He confronted me and my girlfriend outside the house of a family friend who had us over for a holiday get-together on Sunday night. It got heated, and I said some things that were probably below the belt and made him almost cry. His eyes watered, and he was trying not to cry. Then my girlfriend jumped in and blasted him like she did my sisters. Basically, she's on a roll right now. I can tell the gloves have come off for her. My mom just stayed in my dad's truck and watched, but she couldn't hear anything, I don't think. For now, there's nothing else going on. Oh, one other thing. My attorney said my brother and his partners closed doors on their business already. They went under. They have filed some puzzling and contradictory responses to our lawsuit, which surprises me because my brother is smarter than that, usually. They have now changed attorneys and retained a reputable firm. The first thing the new attorneys did was ask what it would take to settle. My attorney says their new attorneys are smart. They know it will be a bloodbath in court. I guess I'll just have to wait and see where it goes from here. But some of you commented from experience that the blowback from legal battles like this tears families apart for decades sometimes. I can see how this can happen and probably will. Now for the top comments before reading the last update. You're absolutely in the right here. I am sorry your sisters turned their backs on you like that, but your girlfriend seems to have a good head on her, if a little heated. Rifts can heal, but you do not deserve to be treated this way. Good luck, and make sure to keep us posted. Yeah, when my dad told us that it should tell us something, that the family's on his side and knows we're wrong, my girlfriend told him something like, "There's a big difference between people taking your side and people knowing you're right. They took your side because they owe you money, and you coerced them into it. But they know you're in the wrong here. It should tell you something that you have to bribe people to be on your side. That's what should clue you in that you're wrong." My dad just looked at her, disgusted and angry, but I've never seen him speechless like that. I feel like your sisters were coerced by your opposing family members to cut you off. Do you know if this is what happened? I'm sure that's what happened. They didn't tell me anything other than they have their reasons. They said it hurts them a lot to do this to me and that they loved me and always will, but they didn't tell me why exactly they suddenly changed their minds. Frankly, I didn't want to know why. I just wanted to hang up the phone as soon as I could. It was hurtful to hear them say they wanted to cut all contact. In fact, I'm glad I didn't stay on the phone long enough to hear those reasons, because that just would have made it harder to stomach the whole thing. Now for the update 5 months later. Okay, let me begin by saying that I am not the original poster. I am his girlfriend. We live together, and I read the update post. My boyfriend is moving on and wasn't going to post a final update, so I asked if I could, and he said yes. Things have wrapped up. They signed a settlement agreement, and now it's up to the judge to approve it. The judge won't do that for 2 more weeks, but apparently it's a formality. It's a sure thing he'll approve it, or at least that's what the attorneys say. As far as the settlement, I can't really disclose much, but I can say that it's close to what my boyfriend was suing for in terms of the money figure. They had transferred their houses to their wives' names, which are in the process of being sold to pay off the settlement. The settlement included a written apology and complete admission of guilt from all 3 of the defendants. They also have to write apology letters and retractions to all the employers that refused to hire my boyfriend based on them slandering him. I think there were 4 companies in all. All 3 of them had their licenses taken away and will never work as financial advisors again in any state. They will also face a criminal investigation due to some forged signatures on some of the deals they made, which will lead to conviction but probably no jail time, according to the experts. Financially, they are beyond ruined, which is what I thought they deserved the whole time. I know my boyfriend regrets this whole thing, and I understand that. It's still his family, and they were close at some point. I think he's better off without them anyway, but that's easy for me to say. His parents are totally a lost cause. I don't think there will be a reconciliation in this lifetime after what's happened. I thought my boyfriend would be open to one when the dust settled, but now I don't. During the mediation hearings, his mom and dad both testified. They both lied, but I knew his crooked dad would. I was shocked that the mother lied about there having been a verbal agreement that my boyfriend would work for his brother's company in exchange for room and board at the parents' house, and that the dad had also been paying him in cash for working. She said she witnessed my boyfriend refusing payment from his brother many times. She lied about a lot of other very hurtful things right there, while my boyfriend sat there and watched her. She never looked at him, not once. His dad never looked at him either, but at least he sat there the whole time after he testified to support his older son and his friends. His mother left the room crying after she testified. I was not shocked that she testified because the attorney had said she might. But I was extremely shocked about the horrible things she said about my boyfriend. She will someday regret doing that to her son. Ugh, such an awful, revolting, and repulsive thing she did. What she did to her youngest son is inexcusable. I was beyond utterly disgusted that she did that. Ugh, she really has no clue how much damage she did to her youngest son. I doubt he'll ever get over it, and I doubt he will ever want to see her again. Not to rant about the mother, but she lied and said disgusting things about her youngest son, and he's the only good son she has. He's the only one who doesn't owe his dad anything. He's the only one with compassion and high morals, the only one who constantly worried about her and kept in touch with her. Ugh, she messed up in the most disgusting way. How can she do that? He was there for her more than her other 3 kids put together, all for a lawsuit that she had to know they were going to lose. Her testimony did nothing to help their case. Nothing. She testified for absolutely no reason. We sent Christmas gifts to my boyfriend's sisters and their daughters. We received thank you cards in return. They haven't contacted my boyfriend since, but I have received a couple of hello emails from one of them. She never mentions my boyfriend or the family problems. She just says hello and asks how I'm doing. I just respond by saying we are both good and hope they are all doing well. I'm not sure where this will go, but it's a small step in what seems like will be a long road before they are allowed by their father to reconcile with their brother, or until they have the courage to do so without their dad's blessing. I think they are both too embarrassed to contact my boyfriend directly. I can sense that they are trying to find a way that will eventually lead them to him. I think they need to just contact him, but that's not my decision. I keep looking at this from my perspective, and my family is really close, so it's hard to watch what's going on with his family. I just think, what the hell? Why do you do this to each other? But that's just how it is. Just to be clear, I knew very early on that my boyfriend's parents were toxic. I initially just wanted him to cut all ties with them, since the way they sided with the older brother, knowing how he tried to destroy his own little brother's career, told me a lot. I wished back then that my boyfriend would just disown them, but I knew that was unrealistic at the time. I knew I was emotional, and I backed off when I saw how stressed my boyfriend was. But things escalated and escalated, and now I think my boyfriend's mom has dealt a death blow to any chance of reconciliation. I'm not just saying that because I'm against it. I'm not for it, and I'm disgusted with her. But I can see the damage she did up close. I'm afraid he may never forgive her. She just went overboard in such a horrible way. I have been talking to my dad about this the whole time, and everything has turned out exactly the way he said it would. Everybody, all parties are destroyed. It's like a bomb went off and everybody got hit. Wow, the fact that his own mom testified against him, essentially picking the crappy son over the good son, that is horrible. It made me feel so sad and hollow inside. I can't even begin to imagine how your boyfriend must feel. I don't know if I could ever forgive that either. I see stuff like this so often though. Parents take their obedient, loyal children for granted while they move heaven and earth to help the rotten ones. You sound like an amazing girlfriend. Hopefully your family can welcome him with open arms and give him the kind of love and support that he's been denied. It is absolutely terrible what his mom did, but I don't think she was picking the crappy son over the good son, so much as she was simply choosing to side with her husband to the fullest. She may not have seen herself as having much choice. Lose one son, or lose the entire rest of her family and her marriage and home. And that's not even taking into account the possibility that her husband threatened her into it somehow. She certainly didn't seem to feel righteous in testifying against her son. She couldn't even look at him, and then ran away crying. Those are, potentially, the actions of someone who felt coerced. It's sad that she didn't have the courage to go against everyone else, but with the cards stacked the way they were, I find myself feeling some sympathy for her. This was exactly my thought. Her punishment will be having to live with that decision for the rest of her life. It would be so tough having to choose between going through a divorce and cutting ties with the majority of her family versus doing the right thing and saving the relationship with her one son. I would hope that in that situation I would do the right thing, but there might be more barriers than we know about in her moral predicament. I suspect that the majority of people who are emotionally vulnerable or easily coerced would probably side with their partner in this situation. You'd have to have ironclad determination and the willpower to uphold your moral beliefs in this situation and be willing to risk everything for what is right. To be honest, I don't think I can give her that much benefit of the doubt. She had choices. She would not have been financially strained even if she lost her husband. She knew that because my boyfriend always let her know that before things got really ugly when they were still talking. She had a choice, and she knew how disgusting a person her husband is to everybody he comes in contact with. She had a choice, and it wasn't a bad choice. She had very good options. I really hate her right now. She hurt her son worse than she will ever know. Last story. My sister tried to steal my baby during postpartum. When my daughter was born, it was one of the hardest times of my life. I had a difficult C-section recovery, I wasn't sleeping, and I was struggling with postpartum depression. Every day felt like a battle to just make it through while caring for my newborn. My sister offered to come stay with me for a while, and at first, I was grateful. I thought she would truly help, maybe cook, clean, or give me a chance to shower and rest. But very quickly, I realized her version of help was something very different. Instead of supporting me, she started acting like my daughter was hers. She would rush to pick the baby up even when I was right there, as if I wasn't capable of holding my own child. She constantly corrected me, saying things like, "You're not swaddling her tight enough," or "She doesn't like being held that way." It wasn't just the comments though, it was the way she would edge me out, physically pushing herself between me and my baby. The worst moment came one afternoon when I tried to take a short nap. I woke up and realized the baby wasn't in her bassinet. I panicked and searched the house, only to find my sister in another room with the door locked, rocking my daughter. I asked her what she was doing, and she brushed it off by saying, "You were so tired, I thought I should just take her for a bit." But the look on her face told me everything. It wasn't just help to her. She genuinely acted like she had some kind of claim over my child. That was the breaking point for me. I told her she was no longer welcome in my house and that she couldn't be around my baby until she understood boundaries. She left angry, and since that day she hasn't spoken to me. My parents think I'm being too harsh and that I should forgive her because she just loves the baby so much. But to me, love without respect is dangerous. I don't care if it costs me my relationship with my sister or even with my parents. I will burn every bridge if I have to. Protecting my daughter comes first, always. Now for the top comments. Write down everything to document while it is fresh. Dates, times, etc. If someone says you are being too harsh, ask them what she told them. If they hear it from you and still side with her, cut them out. Honestly, because this is such huge red flag behavior, make clear boundaries with her. Ensure she comes nowhere near your child. This isn't the sort of behavior you just brush off while alarm bells are ringing. Your parents' assessment is irrelevant. You're an adult, and differences between you and your sister don't need to be settled by mom and dad anymore. You don't feel like your family is safe with your sister around, so she doesn't get to be around.